This obsession with sanitizers, this fear of germs is actually leading to our children having very poor immunity.
Would playing in the mud and getting dirty be actually good for the kids?
Children today eat more processed foods than they did 20, 30 years ago.
Is frequent cold a sign of weak immunity? How many times should my kid get sick before I realize there's something that I need to worry?
Whenever the child is going to a daycare or a school, he or she is going to pick up germs. The same child, when he or she grows up and is now 50 years old, lands up in the ICU with a very serious infection. Most antibiotics are not going to work on them.
Rain doesn't give you cold, and AC doesn't either. And chill drinks aren't the villain. Then what keeps harming our children's health? What are the myths and what are the misconceptions about children's health? Today, we are going to discuss all of that. I am Dr. Chandral, an American board certified neurologist.
And I am Dr. Nivedita, an American board certified gastroenterologist. And today, we are going to bust several myths, cut through the noise, and bring you the facts that really matter.
There is endless health advice over the social media, and not all of it comes from qualified doctors. Here at Dr. Good Deed, you're going to hear it from doctors coming from modern medicine, Ayurveda, naturopathy, homeopathy, and all other alternative forms of medicine. The advice you will get is from qualified experts about the questions and the concerns you have. Our goal at Dr. Good Deed is simple: cut through the noise and get you the answers you can trust. Today we have with us Dr. Nivedita, a gut expert. And as you might already know, gut is the house of your immune system. And we're going to discuss what really affects the immunity of our children. So Dr. Nivedita, is it true that we are very overprotective about our kids these days? We are actually not bringing up our kids. We are bringing up a whole bunch of delicate flowers.
What a fascinating question. Today parents have become overprotective, and there's a lot of good to it. We are Googling symptoms of our children at 2 o'clock, reading every label, we are researching vaccines. As a result, we have children who are vaccinated, we are preventing many diseases, they have better nutrition. But there is a flip side to it. This obsession with sanitizers, this fear of germs is actually leading to our children having very poor immunity, such that they're really not ready to face the world. Okay, so there is a very big flip side to it. Look at it this way. We are bubble wrapping our children and we are not letting them be children at all. But there is a flip side to this. This obsession with sanitizers, this fear of germs is creating children that are not really ready to be in the outside world. This overprotection is leading to anxiety and not necessarily to safety. So what is the sweet spot? You need to protect them, but don't bubble wrap them. Children need to get their cuts, their bruises, they need to be out there in the mud so that their immune system can become strong enough so they can be out there in the world and be confident and curious individuals. So the question, I think, is that are we protecting our children or are we protecting them from the right things? We need to make sure our children are safe. We need to make sure they're crossing the road safely. But we also don't need to overprotect them. Let them go out there. Let them be children. Let them be there in the mud. It's actually going to help them in the long run.
So parents, what do you think? Are we actually being overprotective about our kids, or is it actually the call of the times? Why don't you mention this in the comments? Overprotective, yes or no? So tell me, Dr. Nivedita, could playing in the mud and getting dirty be actually good for the kids? Are we actually hurting them by keeping them away from all the mud and dirt that we are scared of?
The short answer to your question is an absolute yes. Look at it this way. Our immune system is like a training ground. It needs to be exposed to all these germs, which are actually harmless, that train that immune system to begin recognizing what are its friends and what are its enemies. In the long run, this really helps our children stay healthy. The fact that we are becoming so conscious of germs is why we are seeing so many children have food intolerances, autoimmune diseases, asthma, skin conditions, and all kinds of these allergic conditions which we had never heard of earlier. So this is what the hygiene hypothesis said. It said that if we were to bring our children into super sanitized environments, they would become more sick later. The analogy is like you're training a boxer, but to fight, but you never let him go into a fight and spar, it's completely useless. So it doesn't mean we throw away the important things out of the door. Hand washing is very important. Giving vaccines to our children is very important. But it is also important to let them play there in the mud, let them roll in the grass, let them share their toys with their friends. Because remember, mud can wash off, but immunity remains.
Well, that brings me to a very important question that usually is asked to us in all our clinics. So, if you were to choose, is there a soap that's really good for cleaning your hands? And is it okay to clean your hands versus using a sanitizer? Can sanitization replace hand washing?
So thank you for asking that question. Let me put the first important thing out there. No soap is better than the other when it comes to cleaning your hands. Research shows that if we wash our hands for a minimum of 15 seconds, we can kill 99% of the germs.
With any soap?
With any soap. Absolutely. So all these marketing claims, unfortunately, are not backed by science. The second thing is about the sanitizers. So alcohol sanitizers are very useful for cleaning your hands from germs, but they are of no use if your hands are visibly dirty. So if you're seeing mud on your hands or there is grease on your hands, you absolutely need to wash them. But otherwise, if you are just trying to protect yourself, say before eating, you can use an alcohol sanitizer. Make sure it is completely dry before you touch anything.
Well, all the viewers, no soap is better than the other when it comes to cleaning your hands. So there is no point spending excess money on fancy soaps. Second, sanitization is as good as washing hands except when your hands are visibly soiled. So if you want to choose between the two, always wash your hands first and sanitization comes second. And three, when you sanitize your hands, wait for about 15 to 30 seconds. Once the hands are dried, that's when you can start eating or using your hands again.
The one thing that my mother always used to tell me was that she was tougher than what I was and I got more sick than she did. Unfortunately, I say the same thing to my kids as well, telling them that they are getting weaker and we were stronger than them. So is this actually true? Are our kids getting weaker as generations go by and they get sicker easily?
So a lot has changed. You see, the first thing we have to understand is that there are many factors that are going to play when we talk about this. Number one, the exposure of children has changed. No longer do we see children playing outside. Most of the children are spending most of their time indoors. They are busy playing on their video games, or even if they are playing, everything happens away from the sun. As a result, the exposure of the children to those dirt things that we got exposed to is not there. So there is absolutely no training to their immunity. So that is one very big factor. Number two, the diet of children have changed. Children today eat more processed foods than they did 20, 30 years ago. And what happens when we are giving them so many processed foods? We are not feeding the powerhouse of immunity, which is in their gut. As a result, these kids are now having gut microbes that are not trained to at least tackle anything out there in the world, which is why they are becoming more sick. The third important thing is we have hyper-aware parents. You are noticing every sniffle, you're noticing every cough your child has, and you want to take action on it. Remember, in your childhood, when you would get sick, you would still go to school because it's okay. You would go out to play. Nobody was really paying that much attention. But today, we are recording every little thing our child is doing.
Yeah, we didn't have any sick days, and we were actually called weak if we called in sick. And today, it's a fashion.
So a lot of our viewers may not know that the gut is the center of our immune system. And while we are growing up, you must have seen kids putting everything in their mouths, and that's the nature's way of exposing the immune system to different kinds of bacteria, dirt, parasites, so that the immune system gets trained. That's how we develop our immunity, and that is one big reason why kids get sick on and off. And it is okay for kids to get sick on and off as long as they're recovering from it. So I think what is important to remember here is the kids are not getting weaker. The world is changing, and as parents, we are getting very antsy and anxious about their health. Alright, so I have another question. So, is frequent cold a sign of weak immunity? how many times should my kid get sick before I realize, you know what, there's something that I need to worry?
What a great question you have asked. We hear parents complain all the time. My child is sick all the time and therefore his immunity is very weak. But actually, that is not the case. Most children can have cough and colds at least 6 to 8 times in a year. Okay. Now, whenever the child is going to a daycare or a school, he or she is going to pick up germs and it's okay to get sick.
And that's good.
And that's good. Think of it as a gym workout. You have to exercise every day to build that muscle. Your immunity needs this training. It needs to be exposed to all these viruses so it can learn and grow. Now, having said that, there are certain red flag signs that you need to understand. If your child is getting sick more than 8 to 10 times in a year, the sickness is lasting for more than 1 week, there are high fevers, it's developing into pneumonias or ear infections, then sure enough, you need to call a doctor. But most of the times, a little sniffle here and there, don't worry. So I will give a very important parenting tip. Parents, if your child is getting sick 6 to 8 times in a year, still playing, still growing well, sickness doesn't last more than a week, nothing to worry. If the child is getting sick way more often, sickness is lasting more than a week, he or she refuses to play, their growth is being retarded, it is developing into pneumonias or ear infections, sure enough, please call your doctor.
So, right through my childhood, I've been told, don't go outside in the rain, you'll get sick. Turn off the AC when you have flu, you'll get sick. And cold drinks are banned when you have flu. And I'm saying the same thing to my children as well. Am I doing it right? Or is this just a misconception?
Remember all of those times when we are as children and we are deprived of the ice cream and the cold drinks just because our parents fear that we are going to be sick? Well, as it turns out, temperature is not the culprit. The viruses are. So you are feeling very healthy. You may have the coldest chilled lemonade that you want and you're not going to get sick because there is no virus in the mix. But somehow these facts do tend to ring true, and I'll tell you why. What happens when you're in an air-conditioned room is the air becomes very dry. Now your nose actually tends to dry up a lot, and all those protective things that the nose can do, like catching hold of the germs, it's unable to do. And that is the reason why you tend to catch a cold much faster in an air-conditioned room, especially if it is crowded and somebody is sick. Same thing is for the rain. If you get wet in the rain, it's not the rain that's the problem, but your body becomes damp and wet. Its immune defenses become poorer. Your body is under stress. So you're more likely to catch a virus from somebody around you. And when it comes to cold drinks, well, remember, when you're feeling sick, a cold drink can actually irritate your throat a little more. It can make you feel worse. But if you're healthy, the cold drink is really not going to do anything. So it's time to bust that myth completely. Temperature doesn't cause a problem. Viruses do. So once they both combine together, you are going to get sick way more than usual.
So the idea is to stay away from sick people in a closed room with an air conditioner. Do not share your ice cream or your cold drinks with people who have cold or showing symptoms of cold. I think that is where this thing is coming from. So never share it. And come to think of it, our children do tend to share their cold drinks a lot. So that's why it goes from one children to the other children, and then we blame the cold drink. It's actually the fact that they shared the cold drink when they were sick. And definitely when you're sick, keep your hands clean and don't keep touching your eyes, your nose and your mouth. I think that is one thing, if we were to teach our kids, is to keep their hands clean and not keep touching their face again and again. That is one takeaway, rather than preventing them from having cold drinks and ice cream, which is also okay for their general health. But if you really want them to be healthy and away from flu and viruses, do not let them touch their faces, especially when their hands are not clean. So the next obvious question that comes in, so let's say I have a cold or my children have a cold and I take them to a doctor, and we usually get antibiotic prescription. Or on the other hand, we do feel that if you have sickness or if you have flu and you take antibiotics, we get better. So this is something that really needs attention. Could you throw some light at it?
So, antibiotics are the greatest invention that have happened. They have saved many lives. And when our children are sick, we are all wanting them to get better. So we look for a quick fix. And that is when they have a running nose or a sore throat, we think about antibiotics. But guess what? Most of these infections are viral, where the antibiotics are really not going to do anything. Now, let me tell you what happens when children, especially those less than 6 years of age, end up getting antibiotics again and again. Research shows there are two major things that happen to these children. Number one, these children tend to have infections with the more resistant bacteria later in life. The same child, when he or she grows up and is now 50 years old, lands up in the ICU with a very serious infection. Most antibiotics are not going to work on them because now they have infections with resistant bacteria where these antibiotics are useless. Think about that situation when they are getting into the ICU with a life-threatening illness and we can't treat them. The second thing that happens is we completely destroy their immunity. Remember, you have a complete army of 3 trillion microorganisms that are sitting in your colon. These microorganisms are protecting you every day.
You mean good bacteria?
The good bacteria that are protecting you every day from all kinds of infections. Now you bring an antibiotic into the mix. An antibiotic is like a suicide bomber. It will kill everything. It will tend to kill both the good and the bad bacteria. But guess what? Due to our lifestyle, the good bacteria just don't stand a chance to come back into your colon again. So your colon is now populated by all these bad bacteria that are reducing your immunity. Science shows that children who receive a lot of antibiotics later in life tend to have more food intolerances and intolerances to simple things that till a few years ago we didn't even know could cause an allergy, like potatoes.
So what food intolerances are you talking about?
So, the most common food intolerances which are very well studied are those due to nuts, dairy, and gluten.
So you mean milk,
Wheat
and nuts.
And nuts.
Like the three most important parts of our diet, especially if you're a vegetarian.
Absolutely. And these are the intolerances which you tend to build up a whole lot more when you are constantly exposed to antibiotics. But I want to tell you one other thing.
But what kind of symptoms would somebody with food intolerance have?
So people who have food intolerances may have symptoms like getting a lot of abdominal pain, diarrhea, vomiting. They may also have blood in their stool. In children, we find they're unable to grow. They are unable to get the kind of height and weight that is expected out of them. They can have a lot of hair and skin problems, many other issues as they are growing up.
So what you're saying is that two of the most important things that parents are worried about for their kids is unable to gain height and weight could actually be coming from food intolerances, which is actually linked to the immune system in our gut?
Absolutely. And studies are there to show that this kind of a relationship exists.
There are so many, now that I remember when I was a kid, there were so many kids in my school who used to fall sick very often. And their kids' moms those kids' mothers used to talk to my mother and ask her about why are the kids getting sick on and off? Why are they missing school? And is it possible that they were actually having food intolerances and it's one of the most common causes of why children miss their school and they do poorly at studies? Does it also affect the brain?
You're absolutely right. The thing is sometimes what is damaging your body is what you're putting into your mouth. So simple things like having a problem with dairy, milk, yogurt, or even problems with bread and biscuits can actually go a very long way in affecting your health. It reduces your immunity because it actually ends up damaging the good bacteria in your gut. As a result, you tend to become sick more often. And not only that, these bacteria are making chemicals that are responsible for you to be smart in school, for you to remember those things that are being taught in school. But you're not able to remember anything because you've lost all these good bacteria.
So if your gut is not well, you're not going to gain height, you're not going to gain weight, your hair is not going to go good, your skin is going to be worse, and you're not going to be smart. All of this is coming from antibiotics overuse.
Absolutely correct.
So viewers, if you're seeing any of these symptoms in your children, please do mention it in the comments. If you have any questions regarding these issues, please feel free to ask those questions in the comments as well. We'll be happy to answer them and guide you along. So if there was this one thing that I would remember to help my kid grow well and have good immunity, what is it that I should do as a parent?
So just remember 3 things. Number 1, make sure your children are outdoors at least for 1 hour every day. Number 2, make sure that you're giving them at least 2 servings of fruit every day. Please make sure you give them fruits and not fruit juices, which are just empty calories. No juices. And number 3, ensure that your child is getting a minimum of 8 hours of sleep every day. If you do just these 3 things, your children are going to have great immunity and they're not going to fall sick as often.
And by 8 hours, you mean 8 hours of continuous sleep and not like 3 hours in the night and 4 hours in the afternoon or day.
Absolutely. 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep.
Thanks for joining us today. Our job as Dr. Good Deed is to bring you science-based, clinically proven, medically relevant information right from the experts. Stay curious, stay informed, and we'll see you in the next episode where another expert will answer all your questions. Thank you for joining us today. We'll see you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.